There's a super bad habit that you might be guilty of. In fact, a lot of us are guilty of, and I'm going to tell you about that in this video. Hey, what's up? It's John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com, and today I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people do. So I did this video about taking action, about basically not making threats, and instead of making threats, you just take action, right? Don't make threats. It makes you appear weak. People don't respect you as much, and it really diminishes your power because when you do that, obviously, watch the video to find out more about that. But today I want to talk about a similar topic, another habit, bad habit that's sort of a weak habit that a lot of people do. You have to excuse the echo in this room. I'm going to get mic'd up here, but this is my new office and it is empty. It's going to be soundproofed here in a little bit. But anyway, might take some time for that. Let's talk about this habit. So what it is explaining yourself. And the reason why I just told you about the echo and the sound in this room is because I wanted to give an example of that. So, we're all guilty of this, right? I've definitely done this from time to time, right? And I still do it. It's sort of a habit that a lot of people have. It's really hard to break. But we're often explaining ourselves, right? When I explain myself, when I'm like, I'm making excuses, I'm telling you why there's echo in that room, in this room, it's sort of, how did you feel, right? How does it make me appear, right? It makes me appear sort of weak, right? And really, it doesn't sound very good, right? You'd rather me just say, hey, there's echo in this room, deal with it, right? That's a better stance to have than trying to explain yourself all the time. But so many people often explain themselves, and it becomes such a bad habit. So very often, for you guys out there, this is one of those kind of weaker things that a lot of guys tend to do that really you shouldn't be doing. You should not explain yourself. Just like I said, again, I did a video on not apologizing. You shouldn't apologize. But you should also not explain yourself, right? Watch that video on not apologizing if you want to hear about that. But the thing is, like, when you explain yourself, you are basically submitting to someone. You're basically putting yourself in a lower position to them because you're acting like you owe them an explanation, which you don't. You take responsibility for your actions and you don't have to explain them. So this happens a lot. Again, this is not just all guys, right? A lot of women do this too. It's just a very bad habit to get into. It'll happen oftentimes when we get into trouble, when we feel awkward or shy, or we mess up again. Just like the example I showed you here about, there's a problem, there's echo in the room. I have to explain myself. I have to explain why this happened, right? But don't do that, right? It's the same thing. It's a habit that's hard to break. But the next time you're late, just acknowledge that you're late. Don't make excuses and don't explain, right? A lot of times the reason why explaining is bad, it's not just about being tough and about appearing to be, dominant or something like that. It's also about just this idea that when you explain yourself, what you're doing most of the time is you're making excuses. And nobody likes excuses. No one wants you to be making excuses. And that's what happens a lot of times when you're explaining yourself. So, I'm not saying that you never take an account for your actions or talk about why something occurred, but there's this really bad habit, like I said, of just over-explaining yourself. Explain yourself all the time. People who don't even need to know your business. It's none of their business why this happened or why you did this. A lot of times, in a sales situation, this will get you in trouble, right? Someone trying to sell you something, you don't want to buy it. So you're fumbling, you're like, I'm not gonna, and you're explaining yourself, you're explaining your reasons. If you say no, no is no. That's enough. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to give someone an explanation for that. The same thing when, you don't want to do something. Let's say someone invites you out to go do something or offers you something, or they try to sell you Herbalife or Monavie or essential oils or some Amtrak crap like that, right? Some MLM stuff, and you don't want it. Instead of explaining yourself and talking about how, you got this other thing, just say no. I don't want that. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't want it. Whatever it is, just be straightforward. Don't make excuses. Don't explain yourself. You don't have to. You don't owe people an explanation for things, you know. So that's the key thing. So this is just a tip. And the reason why this is so important is, like I said, it's primarily because, one, it makes you appear extremely weak, and people will walk over you when you're weak. Especially salespeople will see that when they see you explain yourself. Then they're gonna find your objections, and they're gonna overcome your objections, and you're gonna have no defense because you're gonna feel bad about making them feel bad. It's a really good sleazy sales tactic, and you're going to be susceptible for it. The other thing is, you're always going to feel like people are walking all over you, because they're going to be when you're explaining yourself all the time, because they're going to convince you out of it, or you're just going to feel bad, right? And that's not good. You want to be able to stand up for yourself and just have your no being no without explanations. It's very much like this same idea of not threatening and taking action. Instead, it's the same type of concept here. So that's number one. Number two here is, when you're explaining yourself, of course, it comes off as excuses, which is bad. People don't like excuses. There's no need for that. And you're also going to lose respect for yourself. That's the third one, is when you're explaining yourself all the time, you sort of weaken your position in your own mind. You don't have the confidence to just have your no or your yes be that, and you're always trying to find those explanations, those excuses for the actions that you do, instead of just accepting them. This is who you are. This is what you did. That's fine. You don't owe anyone an explanation, and they shouldn't expect one from you. It's about having those boundaries. It's about having the self-respect. It's about having the confidence to be able to do that. And there's a lot of times where this is going to be hard, right? There's a lot of times where, for example, one of the bad habits I have is sometimes when I'm late to responding to someone's email, it's like 2 days or something, and I respond, my first inclination, which is bad, is to say, sorry for responding so late. Wrong. I always, nope, sorry, don't do that, John. Don't do that. So then the next thing is, I want to explain. Next, I want to say, I finally got around to checking my email. I've been gone for 2 days, and that's why. Nope. Again, no need to do that. Instead, just answer the email. You don't owe people an explanation. When you give that explanation, you put yourself in that weak position. You lose respect for yourself. Other people lose respect for you. It's something, again, a habit. Seems like a small thing, but really, you got to stop doing that, and you'll see changes. You'll see changes in the way that people behave, how they react to you, and what happens in your interactions with people. And you also have a lot more respect for yourself. So anyway, that's it for this. Just a bad habit that I hope that I can break more. I try, I keep it in my mind to not make excuses, not make threats, and not apologize. Those are kind of the trio right now. This is the third video I've done on those subjects, but this is kind of a trio of things to remember. Don't apologize, don't explain things, and don't make threats. So anyway, if you like this video, subscribe and you'll get more of them. So I'll talk to you next time. Take care.